It's already recording. Okay, great. All right. Hello, everyone. Welcome to week 6. I believe it is of our continuing education classes. My name is Joy Durham, actually, and I will be going through stress, sleep, and emotions. We have a lot to cover today, so I'm going to try to get through it as quickly as possible. But I do want to give y'all, extra insight as I can. We have 2 more classes after this one. Next week, Stephanie will be teaching, and then the final week, I will wrap up with, I think, our pain management class. So just to give a little recap, these are all the classes that are in the 8 class series. We are doing this on Wednesday nights at 6 or Thursday afternoons at 12:30. That's what you're attending. And be sure that you keep a record of your attendance, date, the class topic, and who presented it. And at the end of this class, of this section, I will give you a secret code for you to write down for this class as well. And when you attend all 8 classes, you'll get a free diffuser from your wellness advocate. The other thing we're also offering during this time is that we are also sharing how you can share oils and earn some income or get your oils free. You don't have to stick around for that at the end, but I have had people ask me about that in the past. So we are just adding this as a little bit of extra information at the end. It doesn't take real long. And this week, we're going to talk about the compensation plan real quickly. And this is a 4-part series. So you may have seen this if you've been through all of the classes already. We restarted this part because this part's 4 parts and the class goes 8 weeks. So obviously this part will go over twice, which, if you miss something the first time, you get to catch it this time. And there will be a secret code at the end of that portion as well for you to get into a drawing to get a free roller.
Other thing, Joy, just to make sure and check your waiting room, because I think AJ's trying to get in.
Oh, I'm sorry, AJ. I didn't let y'all in, so I'm surprised that I have a waiting. I don't have a waiting room. It's not showing me anyone who's waiting.
Oh, okay.
Because I didn't approve y'all to get in. Y'all, I don't think they set it up for a waiting room. Let me see. No, it doesn't show anyone waiting. Someone joined because it has 6 now. All right. So the other thing I wanted to highlight was that on Mondays and Thursdays, there is an intro oils class that the team also teaches. And so that one is going to be 7 o'clock Monday evening Central Time and Thursdays, 7 o'clock Central Time. And so that one is basically if you have someone who's new to oils, wants to learn a little bit more and doesn't know anything about oils, that's a good class for them. All right. And I wanted to add, just because I know when I do my classes for my team, I always introduce myself as well. And I want to go ahead and just do that a little bit here. For a lot of people that are joining these classes may not know me, but my name is Joy Durham, and I am a marketing professional. I've been in marketing research for about 25 years. I'm a mother and a wife. I started using oils in July of 2016. And my first oil that I was really searching for was frankincense. And anyone who knows me well knows that I refer to frankincense as my boyfriend. But the first oil that I actually used was peppermint. I love doTERRA because it's pure plant medicine, and I feel confident sharing it with my loved ones. And right now, my favorite products are frankincense adaptive, which we're going to talk about today, peppermint, cardamom, which I just love the smell of that, and sandalwood. So let's get started. We're going to get started with a little bit of a quiz. So like I said, I've been in market research for 25 years. And so this is right up my alley to ask someone to rate something on a scale of 1 to 10. So we have 3 questions here. And what you're going to be doing is that you're going to rate yourself on the following, with 1 meaning it's not at all a problem for you, and 10 meaning it's a big problem for you. Now, we don't have to share your answers right now, but this is just for you to kind of get an idea evaluating where you're at. And it's really important if we want to improve our health and wellness in different areas to understand where you're even at to begin with, so you have a little bit of a baseline. So the first question we're going to ask ourselves is how often are you aware of being stressed in your daily life? So rate yourself on 1, not at all, or to 10, this is a big problem for me. Number 2, rate how concerned are you about the quantity and quality of your sleep? So I know adults should be getting around 8 hours, 7 to 8 hours of sleep. I know teenagers like a lot more than that. So you know where you are, how much are you getting, and not only the quantity, but it's the quality of it, because that's important as well. And then rate yourself on the 1 to 10 scale for how frequently do your emotions feel difficult to manage appropriately. And one thing I do want to point out, when we are thinking about emotions, I know lots of times, a lot of people were probably, taught, well, suck it up, or don't cry, or get over it. But really, to be effective with managing your emotions, you have to process them. You have to go through the cycle of feeling, experiencing the emotions so that you can let go of them and you can move on. So one thing that I love when I teach about emotions is to remind people that it's okay to feel the emotions. They are just those chemical reactions that we have going on. And when you try to suppress them and not express them, your body has to do something with those emotions. So what tends to happen is that it's going to tuck it away somewhere. So if you have, a experience or a traumatic experience or an emotion that you're not dealing with, and your body may tuck it away, in your pancreas, and later in life or years down the road, you're trying to figure out, well, we have these, pancreatic issues. So it's really important to understand that, yes, we need to process our emotions as well, because they can develop into physiological issues. The other thing we're going to focus on a little bit, and we're going to get a little sciencey today, not too sciencey, because I know that is more than we can handle in this little bit of time we have today. But one thing we want to point out today is the hypothalamus. And so that's really like a little tiny control tower in your brain, and it helps you when we're stressed. It orders the brain to send out stress hormones. It's designed actually to protect you. Kind of when you think about, when we have that discussion about inflammation, how, some inflammation is good. It's there to protect our body. The same thing with the stress hormone. It's there to actually help us and protect us, but not over prolonged periods of time. So when it becomes more frequent that we have the stress hormones and it's more prolonged, it becomes more of a chronic issue, that's when it can bring on the physical and mental well-being. It can affect those things. And some of the symptoms that you can tell if you're experiencing chronic stress are irritability, anxiety and depression, headaches. A lot of people have a lot of unexplained headaches, insomnia, poor immune function, and increased blood pressure. And so one thing I want to highlight here and down here is talking about you can have increased cortisol levels, which means your melatonin levels will not be able to rise as they should to promote restful sleep. So two things that I know we hear a lot about when we talk about sleep and stress and emotions are going to be melatonin and serotonin. And so I want you to think of, in very simple terms, the melatonin is going to be your kind of like the downer part. And then the serotonin is going to be kind of like your upper. So they're kind of, they're like if you have a flipping of the coin. So one is designed to help relax and calm you and bring you down. And that's what the melatonin does. And that's why it's released when we're trying to sleep, when it's time to sleep. So the way melatonin is activated is going to be when you're in dark places. So like when you turn off the lights, when you close the curtains, things of that nature. So darkness or closing your eyelids are what is going to increase the melatonin response, and we need that to help us to calm down and sleep. Whereas serotonin is going to be something that is going to bring on a happiness feeling. It's going to wake you up, and we get more serotonin when we're exposed to light, when we're exposed to sunlight and things of that nature. So, I know for a little bit, when my late teens, early 20s, I went through a pretty bad bout with depression. And I very vividly remember my best friend coming over and her ripping open the curtains, and she was like, let the sun in, doing that. And it really did, looking back on it now, have an effect on that I guess, helping me to cope with the depression and dealing with. And so now I know it was kind of a chemical reaction that was going on with the sunlight and helping me and raising my serotonin levels. So when you have a lack of the melatonin, it can often lead to insomnia. And when you have a lack of the serotonin, it can lead to depression. So the other thing we're going to touch on right now is going to be aromatherapy. And I'm sure you've heard this term aromatherapy. And I actually love it because I'm actually studying it now to get a certification in it. And there is a whole wealth of knowledge behind aromatherapy. So just like essential oils have been used for centuries, the idea of aromatherapy is not a new fad or a trend. They've been using aromatherapy for a long time. Many ancient civilizations like China, Greece, Rome, and India have recognized the power of essential oils and have had and the influence that they have on human emotion. And so they've used it in rituals, they've used it in religious ceremonies for this very reason. And I think even now, many churches I know still use a form of aromatherapy in their practices. And so although we didn't have the term aromatherapy until the 20th century, it has been used for a long time. And so what's really cool now is that there's been a lot of substantial research more recently in the 90s, 1990s, that helped biologists understand how the body responds to aroma. So basically what's happening is that there are chemical responses in the body when we smell something. And so as you may know, each essential oil has its own unique chemical makeup. The chemical design of essential oil determines what it's useful for. So some chemical elements make an essential oil useful for immunity or for cleaning, while some other ones are very beneficial for the skin, the heart, and the digestive system. So we know the list can go on and on because we know, I can pick up a bottle of peppermint and I can rattle off 5 different uses that you can use it for. But when it comes to aromatherapy, the essential oils can be used to create a specific emotional response depending on its chemical makeup and depending on that person. So whenever you inhale an essential oil, it travels through your nose and is processed by a portion of your brain that is responsible for controlling the sense of smell. And then from there, it goes into aromatic pathways that connect the scent to the part of the brain where your memories and experiences are stored. So as the aroma travels through the aromatic pathways, it's giving you an emotional response. So I'm going to give you a couple examples, personal examples I have. So one, anytime I smell the aromas, the oils, the scent of clove, cinnamon, nutmeg, any of those, I immediately have a response because I think of Thanksgiving. I think of Thanksgiving, particularly in the Midwest at my grandmother's house. That was her favorite holiday when she was alive. And so immediately it makes me think of warm. It makes me think of autumn air. It makes me think of the leaves because, they have, the fall leaves and the colors, but it makes me feel warm and it makes me think of family. So that's what the responses that I get when I smell those. Another example is peppermint. Whenever I smell peppermint, I think of Christmas. I associate peppermint with Christmas. I associate it with peppermint bark. I associate it with cocoa and things of that nature. So I think it's a fascinating how you can smell something and it's going to trigger some kind of response from you, a memory, an experience, something that comes up. And these can be good or bad. And so that's the thing we have to recognize sometimes, because it doesn't have to just be an oil that triggers something, the smell, like growing up, we used to have, my parents or my mom would say when we'd go outside and play and we'd come in and we'd be hot and sweaty and she'd tell us, well, you smell like Esau. So she was saying you smell like the outside and stuff. And so different scents will trigger different responses for you. But because everyone has different memories and life experiences, so, when I smell peppermint, I may think of one thing, but, someone else may smell it and they may come up or think of something completely different. each of us will have a different response when we're using essential oils to manage emotions. So no two people will have the same exact response to an oil, but if you use the oils, the correct oil for you, it's easy to manage mood emotions using the aroma of essential oils. And so I want to recommend for you, if you haven't gotten it yet, to put on your list of books, Emotions and Essential Oils. And so that's one book that I like to use as well, because what it does is going to break down how each oil, what different emotions it can help you with. So it kind of gives you a starting point. So let's look real quick. So doTERRA originally introduced this mood matrix. And I don't know if you've seen this before. When I saw it, I thought it was pretty cool because I like to think in terms of matrices or spreadsheets. So this made total sense to me. So what you see here is going to be where it goes from fatigue to stressed. So you think of that as a continuum, and you're thinking about physical aspects that you may be experiencing that are related to stress, sleep, and emotions. And then going horizontally, you'll see the line that goes from no peace to no passion. And so when we're trying to address different emotions that we may be experiencing, you want to think, where am I on this? So when I look at this, I kind of think also about, if you remember in school when you used to plot lines and you'd have a point where, I'd have to go X2 and 3Y, where you kind of think about how much are you along a different continuum, and then it'll help you figure out which one of these oils is going to be beneficial for you. So if I feel that I'm really struggling and not having a lot of peace, I may be way far over on that left side towards no peace, but I may be very tired as well. So that's going to put me in the quadrant of serenity. And so I probably am going to need something that's going to help with calming, it's going to help bring some composure, it's going to help with placating. So it's going to help me get that rest and peace that I need. Or maybe if you're a little bit stressed, and you realize that you're having difficulty expressing passion, then that's going to put you over in that elevation quadrant. So that's kind of how this goes. And so I think of this as the first generation of mood management that doTERRA introduced. And so after that, the other thing that they also introduced and came up with is going to be the aromatherapy wheel. And so this is a different version of that wheel. You may have seen another wheel if you have already gotten some of the emotional aromatherapy oils. It comes with a little wheel in the box. And so what this does is that it helps you select an oil as well to address different emotional issues you may be experiencing. What is really interesting, and I pulled some, let's see, where did I put that, about the emotional aromatherapy wheel, is that you can kind of pinpoint what you need help with, and based on it, they came up with different oils that help you with that. And so it's broken out more by the types of oil, the categories it's in terms of mints, florals, trees, herbs, grasses, spices, and citrus. And so what happens is that depending on where you are on this wheel and different things that you're experiencing, one of these oils can help you address that. And so mints are known to help if you feel apathetic, insecure, or anxious, whereas florals are known to help you if you feel fearful, worried, or hurt. And so there are oils in there that help address that. So peace is going to be one that's going to help you because it's going to be made up of mints and florals, and it's going to help you with those emotions on that side. And so if you haven't noticed or you haven't been exposed to this aromatherapy wheel or these emotional oils, I encourage you to take a look at them, because what I love about them is that their names basically tell you what they're meant to address. So peace oil is meant to bring you peace. Cheer oil is meant to help cheer you. As you notice, it's over there, it's made up of citrus and spice. And so it's going to help you with feeling discouraged, gloomy, distressed. And so that, I kind of call that generation 2, or the second generation, when it comes to emotional support, what's available. So now if we look at what we really look at, and a lot of people focus on now, and it's going to be the adaptive system. And this really is a system. And so when you see adaptive, I want you to think of it as a system. And so you're like, well, Joy, what does that mean? Well, the adaptive system is really meant to help reduce anxious and tense feelings, increase feelings of tranquility. It soothes and uplifts. It helps boost mood. It helps improve your state of mind. It supports cognitive function and emotional balance, promotes mental well-being. It assists you with sustained concentration. It can be used to help you center, and it reduces feelings of restlessness. And so what you see there on the right is the system, and it's going to have a roller. It has an adaptive roller. That's a 10 ml roller. It's going to have a 15 ml bottle of oil, and it's also going to have capsules. It's going to have, calming blend is what its generic name is, called capsules. And so really the roller and the oil bottle is meant to address the limbic system. And so the limbic system is where we deal with emotions and memory. And it also, the limbic system includes the hypothalamus, which we talked about earlier. And so the way you use those two, because they're really meant to address behavior, thought, and emotion, that's what they're targeting. You're going to have stress relief, which it has lavender, magnolia, neroli, and sweet gum. You're going to have some uplift, which is going to have wild orange and spearmint to tackle that. And then you're going to have some soothing, which the copaiba and the rosemary are meant to tackle that. So the roller you can apply topically to your wrists and neck as needed. And then the oil you can use to diffuse. Now, I also use the oil to replenish my rollers, and I say that even though I've bought 3 rollers already, because I got one for myself and both of my children. We use the adaptive a lot for anxiousness, for anxious feelings, for anxiety. I still, even though I don't I haven't had a bout of depression like I did when I was younger, but I do still experience panic attacks. And especially during this time, I lean on adaptive a lot. So I just keep a roller on my desk. And so they started needing it for classes and studying and test taking. So I ended up getting them their own. It's very important to figure out what it is that's going to be useful for you. I highly recommend starting with the adaptive and seeing how it helps you and those that you know that are struggling with emotional issues and need this emotional support, because the other part of this system is going to be the capsules. Now, the capsules are designed to be a lot more systemic. And so it's going to look to help with neurological and the biochemical functions of emotional support. And so it has lavender, coriander, wild orange, and fennel that are going to help with stress relief. It also has something that's called GABA. And so GABA is a neurotransmitter that has natural calming effects on the brain that help promote mental well-being and relaxation. And so that's really one of the components that a lot of people, that when they saw that doTERRA released these capsules, were very excited, because they were very excited about how these capsules and this whole system are going to help address a lot of different issues. So the capsules were formulated with a blend of mood boosting oils. We already talked about lavender, wild orange, and fennel. There's been clinical research that has shown that it may support a healthy emotional response during events like anxious feelings. And so think of anything that makes you anxious or the kind of the symptoms of it, and this is going to help you with that. And so one recommended way to use the adaptive capsules is to take one a day to help reduce the effects of daily stress and worry. So the way that it's recommended to use this system is that you take a capsule each morning, and then you use the roller and you diffuse as needed. And so that's kind of, for us, we mostly use the adaptive roller as needed. I take the capsules for days that I know are going to be high stress. If I know, because I try to plan my week out, I know ahead of time it's going to be a high stress day, then I'll take the capsules. But I have friends and I have customers and team members who they take the capsules daily, and it has replaced some prescription medications that they were on that they didn't want to be on anymore. I've gotten reports from customers that really make me very excited when I get emails or text messages, or when someone tells me, you know, I got to take my son off of his medications, and they said that this adaptive is a lifesaver because, you know, he is doing things that he never would do and get out and engage in the world again. So that makes me happy. And that's really the reason why I do this, is to bring some help and health and healing to people's lives. So what I also, let me look, I had a little bit, I'm going to tell you, because I know a lot of people are like, what about the study? Well, the clinical study that was done in terms of on the adaptive capsules, they had 5,056 capsules and placebos that were given out during this trial. They had 79 participants. There were 500 dedicated hours to designing, implementing, and analyzing the study. There were, sorry, alarm that goes off. There were 632 surveys that were collected over a 4-week period that ended up giving them 10,000 data points to look at. And doTERRA gave away $3,950 worth of product in order to participants in order to conduct this study. So, and I just showed you how serious, you know, they were about making sure they had a really strong product to help us. And one of the things that I'm really excited about on the right, you see, is the Mind and Mood Kit. So the adaptive is the product hero that is highlighted in that Mind and Mood Kit. And if you haven't seen that, I highly encourage you to look that up on the website. But basically every month you'll get, for 3 months, you will get a different kit that will address emotional support, and adaptive will be featured in that. So here are a few diffuser blends you can use to help with emotional support and well-being. You can see the first one has adaptive and wild orange in it. I say go ahead and take a screenshot of this page so you can have those really cool recipes. I like Balance a lot, so the ones that Balance are in, that one's, those are really beneficial as well. That is our grounding blend. So let's talk a little bit about how can you incorporate some things that help address stress, sleep, and emotions. So you can have a nightly regimen that includes taking a Serenity soft gel or a Copaiba soft gel at night. But remember to always take these things about 30 minutes before bed, and to do it and try to have a calm environment. You know, I know that professionals recommend not watching TV, not looking at your phones. I'm horrible about that. Our TV is on, it goes off by itself. I like to check and make sure I didn't forget anything before I go to bed. So oftentimes I'll lay in bed, look at my phone. I'm trying not to, but I still do. So that goes into creating that nice and restful calm. And remember, when we have that nice calm and darkness, it helps to activate our melatonin, which is going to help us get a restful night's sleep. An alternative regimen you could try is to use the adaptive soft gels, which encourage relaxation, calm, and promotes positive feelings. The Copaiba and the Yarrow Palm capsules, which promote cellular health, support the brain and skin. And so these are just two options. I've also heard of people, also they have gone with using Serenity and adaptive soft gels together. Another option is just using the Serenity set as well. So you have Serenity capsules and you also have Serenity oil. And so what you do with that is that you put the Serenity oil into your diffuser about 30 minutes before and get it running where you're going to be sleeping, where you're kind of winding down, and take the soft gel 30 minutes before as well. So these are just different options. Again, you figure out what's best for you and then you run with it to find your best way to address your stress or your sleep issues. So this one is a heavy duty, that's why it's called hibernation roller. So this one is going to tell you to combine 20 drops of each of the oils pictured in a roller, and then top it off with fractionated coconut oil or whatever oil that you use as your oil of choice. Apply to your to your feet, big foot. My husband has big feet, so I was thinking, apply to your feet, big toe, heart, palms of hand, and pillow. Inhale deeply with slow, deep breaths. So you put it on your big toe because that one is, that kind of controls, if you look in your reflexology charts, you can Google that online, or it's going to be in your essential oil reference books. That's going to help you with brain function. So it's going to help you with relaxing your brain. So it's going to have frankincense, vetiver, bergamot, and Roman chamomile. And so we put all of those in there. And so 20 drops, I'm guessing that needs to go in a 10 mil roller. And even for me, I think that's a pretty powerful one. I think you could get by with cutting it down to 10 drops of each in the roller, or even, but yeah, I wouldn't put all those in a 5 mil roller. That would probably take up the whole roller. So let's talk real quick, now that we've gone over different oils and things that we can use, let's talk about something that's called the gut-brain connection. But actually, I want to talk just a minute about the three brains. So I wonder, have you heard, because I hadn't heard of this before I started doTERRA, you heard of the three brain connection that we have? And so what that means is that there is definitely a connection that they found that is between our mind, our heart, and our gut. So our mind is thought to be the director. So it has, the subconscious mind directs over 90% of our behavior. That's not news. We already knew that, right? The heart is the discerner. So it has more neural pathways that runs from the heart to the brain than from the brain to the heart. So the heart is the one that kind of discerns things, and it's going to be communicating a lot of things back to the brain. That's what that means. And then the gut is the processor. And so 90% of the body's serotonin and other feel-good chemicals are produced in the gut. So feelings are really chemicals. And so that's something that it's kind of interesting that we really have three brains that are controlling a lot of things that are going on in our body. When most of the time you think of the term brain, you just think of the one that's in our noggin, right? So the thing that's important to take away from that is that it's all connected, and we need to think of our body as working together, and that's the best way to achieve overall wellness. And so when you connect the three brains and you have them all working well, then that's when you're going to get optimal feel good. And so think back to your quiz that we took at the beginning of the class, and I want to think about specific essential oils that support emotions, and thinking about the gut brain. We're going to focus on gut brain today. So think to yourself, and you can raise your hand. I can't see you, but you can still just play along. Raise your hand if you have emotions. Yay, I do. Raise your hand if you ever struggle with sleep. Occasionally, I do. Raise your hand if you've ever been constipated. I think everyone has some point in their life. And raise your hand if you ever felt nervous in your stomach and had to go to the bathroom more. Definitely. When I played basketball from 4th grade to 11th grade, and before every single game, I had to throw up. And so that goes back to that emotional response that I was experiencing in my gut. So most of us have felt many of these things. Did you ever stop to think that they all work together? So right now, generally, modern medicine tends to isolate symptoms and addresses them one at a time. That's really a big pet peeve of mine. And so that's why we end up with people being on 14 different prescriptions, because we're looking at each symptom that a person experiences and not really taking into consideration the overall body system. But recent research is really coming to terms with the idea that every piece of the puzzle works together, and the second brain, or our guts, is just as important as the regular brain for determining a lot of our body functions from sleep to emotion. So let's assess the gut emotion connection. So I gave you an example, my basketball example, but here's some more. When I'm stressed, do you either not eat or eat lots of sugar because you want to release the feel-good hormones? When you're mad, do you eat or not eat, usually because your stomach tenses up? When you're nervous, do you tend to feel sick to your stomach? And when you're sad, can you feel it in your stomach? And probably in your heart too. But we don't give the gut mind enough credit. But research is showing that the gut brain connection is very real, and there is a direct connection between the stomach and the intestines and our brain. And so there has been a review of 13 studies that showed that patients who tried physiological based approaches had greater improvement in their digestive symptoms compared to those who only did conventional medical treatment. And so that basically means is saying when we start focusing on other ways to deal with our emotions and thinking of it whole, looking at more natural ways to deal with it, they're actually seeing those approaches are working better than just throwing pills at it. And so your stomach issues can often stem from stress. We know how stress can really affect our bodies. And then emotions of anxiety can often be a result of gut issues. So that's pretty cool. So all of it works together. That's what I always keep telling people. It's all working together. We can't just look at it in isolation. So this is going to show you your entire GI tract and your enteric nervous system. And so the GI tract is going to go from, we say, from your rooter to your tutor. So it's going to start with your mouth and go all the way down to your anus. And so that's the whole tract. So sometimes people just think it's the stomach, but you know, it's all of it. And so what happens if you eat something and digest it, but your gut is in imbalance? So your body doesn't absorb and it appropriately, and it comes out through your skin instead of the proper organs. And so this can explain some of the rashes like psoriasis and eczema that people experience. But what is the enteric nervous system? The ENS is a too thin layer of more than 100 million nerve cells lining your gastrointestinal tract from your esophagus to your rectum. So it actually has more nerves in that system than you have in your spinal cord. So there is a biodirectional pathway from the brain to the second brain, meaning that your emotions can affect your gut and the gut can affect your emotions. So it isn't even just that it's a one-way thing, it goes back and forth. So what I'm feeling in my gut can create emotions, and emotions that I'm feeling can also have effect that show up in my gut. But that's very profound right there. And so this can trigger big emotional shifts experienced by people coping with irritable bowel syndrome, sorry guys, and functional bowel problems such as constipation, diarrhea, bloating, pain, and stomach. You know, all the things that Pepto-Bismol tells us in their commercial. So for decades, researchers and doctors thought that anxiety and depression contributed to these problems, but our studies and others show that it may be the other way around. Researchers are finding evidence that irritation in the gastrointestinal system may send signals to the central nervous system that triggers mood changes. So modern medicine is looking at new ways to discover treating this differently. So what they're looking at is how can this be healed, reversed, or prevented? So how did our guts get like this? Well, we all know the answer to that, right? Think about the classes though, even just the ones I've taught, the toxins in the home, the nutrition. So those are the things that affect our gut health: toxins from the air, food, medications, cleaning products, etc. So the solutions are going to be, in the short term, change your diet. And we talked about that in, like, I think, wasn't that the first class we did? And long-term, cleanse and restore your GI tract. And so how do we do that? How do we cleanse and restore your GI tract? So one thing we want to focus on is digestion and sleep. There are a number of things on here I know I'm guilty of, and you may be too, and that's okay. Once we, identify it, we know we can move on. So digestion and sleep. Sleep time is actually the time that you really, you don't really want to be digesting as much as you are absorbing and balancing. And so we know when we go to sleep, that's really a restorative time. That's really when your body is like, oh, good, she stopped moving. She stopped doing all this craziness. She stopped eating. So now I can go in and kind of fix some things. I can kind of repair some things, because we have to remember, ultimately, our body desires to be at homeostasis. It always desires to be in balance. And so sleep is when it does that, is when it kind of tries to fix some of the things that have happened during the day. And so when we don't get enough sleep, it's not allowed to go through its full cycle. When we don't get restful sleep, it's not allowed to do some of the things that it needs to do. Another issue that happens, or that we call, is that we eat right before we go to bed. So I know I've heard this and I didn't understand why before, is that you should stop eating about 3 to 4 hours before you go to bed, because you want to make sure that your body has had time to properly digest whatever you have eaten. And so what we eat before we go to bed can definitely impact our quality of sleep. If our system is bogged down with digestion, which it will be if you eat and then pass out, which I've done before, it actually can't do the restorative work it needs. The digestive system will actually keep you more awake. So not only can it not repair, it's going to keep you more awake. And so that explains, when you eat and then it's not sitting right and you can't sleep. Yeah. I think we underestimate the amount of energy it takes to break down our food. And so when our body's having to expend all that energy on trying to break down our food, it's not going to be able to do the things it needs to do. And plus, it's going to keep you awake sometimes. And so on top of all of this, the toxic load or the imbalance of our stomach highly impacts our ability to produce hormones like melatonin and serotonin. Those are our two. Remember at the beginning, we talked about needing those two for sleep and for wake. So much of the job of balancing our hormones is done in the gut. So 80 to 90% of serotonin is actually produced by the gut. So low levels of serotonin are found in people with depression. We already talked about this. And serotonin is what is used to make melatonin. So that is some of the foundation. So let's look a little bit on how we can help our bodies with these cycles. First thing, and we've talked about this, probably talk about this every class, the LOV supplements, the Lifelong Vitality Pack. It's made up of the Microplex VMZ, which is our vitamins. Think VMZ stands for vitamins and minerals. And so it's going to give you food nutrients that we need. The omegas are going to give you the omegas that you need, and the alpha CRS is going to give you powerful antioxidants. I'm not going to go in deep detail with these because we talk about them all the time, but what I do want to highlight right here is how important it is to help with what we just talked about. It's important to help fill in gaps that you may have in your nutrition right now. And just think, we've already talked about this in our nutrition class and our toxins class, how important it is to use the LOV pack. Other thing I really wanted to talk about is going to be the reset and renew. So like we said, we need to go ahead and get our GI tract cleaned out. So you want to cleanse it and then restore it with good stuff. And so cleansing is a natural way to restore and maintain a healthy microflora population in your gut. And so one of the things that you want to do is to clear it out first. And so that's what GX Assist does. It's going to help clean out your GI tract. It's to make basically like hitting a reset button. And then once you clear it out, then you can go ahead and take the PB Assist for a number of days, and that's going to help replenish the gut flora that you need. Now, one thing I've been talking about in the Sunday classes that I teach on my Facebook page is Candida. And so Candida is going to be something that a lot of people deal with or are having issues with, and they don't know it. And so I'm not going to go into it now, but I do want to refer you, if you have your Essential Life book, look at page 226. There are several pages there dedicated to telling you what Candida is, which is basically a type of yeast infection. It's going to tell you different protocols you can use. And what it's going to highlight are going to be these two things here, GX Assist and PB Assist Plus, which are all this plus the LOV are all included in doTERRA's Cleanse and Restore Kit. So if you don't want to try to figure out which ones you should be using, doTERRA's Cleanse and Restore Kit is going to have all the tools for you to do the reset and the GI cleansing and the replenishing and getting you good to go. Actually, it is recommended that we do a cleansing every quarter, so about every 3 to 4 months. Another thing that's going to be included in the kit and it's going to help you a lot in terms of digestion is going to be Terrazyme. And so I know y'all have seen this before on the right-hand side. You see that oatmeal experiment, and I've done this in classes like live, and it's like amazing how quickly this happens. So you get a bowl of lumpy oatmeal, you add in, you open a capsule or two of Terrazyme, and you just start to stir it. You really don't have to stir it much, and you'll see how the Terrazyme breaks down the oatmeal, and it's, I'd say, within 5 minutes, it just breaks it down. And so the point of it is saying, we want to make sure we're breaking down our food, because remember, again, that's something that we want to have healthy digestion, and that's going to help. And it's going to help with your gut health as well. And so it's going to help. It provides metabolic enzymes that are necessary for energy production, tissue growth and repair, and managing toxic waste products. It is going to offer chronic help with chronic enzyme deficiency. So if you have gastrointestinal disease, yeast infections, we just talked about candida, osteoporosis, chronic fatigue, a compromised immune system, obesity, diabetes, heart disease, and other degenerative conditions. So Terrazyme is pretty powerful. I don't know if you've heard, one of the things that's recommended we take every day is Terrazyme. And so depending on what it is that you eat and how much help you need with digesting your food, you can take, the bottle I think says 1 to 3, but I know people have taken more than that. So this is going to be a sample wellness box, or I like to call them a subscription box. And so if you wanted to get some of the emotional support items we talked about today, this is an example of something you could get. You could get the adaptive system, add in the wild orange, because that's going to be one that's really good. Any of the citrus oils actually are going to be really good at helping to uplift mood. I like to call them like your little happy pills or happy oils. Copaiba soft gels are another one. Balance is another one. The grounding blend is really good for emotional support. And so all of these together in a sample wellness box is $145. And so it's going to be 131 PV. And so it is an exact match dollars to PV sometimes when you purchase things that aren't oils. Oh, one more thing I wanted to highlight. And so Symphony of the Cells also provides you with a spinal, I call spinal treatment that you can use with the oil. So if you don't have a Symphony of the Cells book, you can go to, I think it says symphonyofthecells.com. That little book you see pictured is roughly $12 or $13. It is not a huge amount of money, but it is a powerful little book. So what's included inside are going to be different spinal techniques that you can use. They call it a collection of massage protocols, but actually it's very simple. I mean, just getting the oils on your spine so they can be absorbed and distributed quickly is very beneficial. You don't have to be a masseuse or anything like that. I've applied them to my kids. I've had my kids apply them to me. I applied them to my husband at the beginning of the pandemic because he's an essential worker, and I wanted to give him some really strong support at the beginning. But in terms of emotions, the one that is recommended in there, you see it there, the Emovic protocol. And so those are the oils that would be used in the protocol. And so what I love about this book is that it's very simple. It's very simplistic and easy to use and understand. So you see the oils, those are the order in which you apply them, and then you see how you apply them. And each of those symbols means something, and the book explains it, but basically, you know, it tells you to apply it to the back, you smell it, to rub on the feet, and different things of that nature. What I love about this book is that it is not focusing on symptoms. It is focusing on body systems. And so the body system that is addressed with this actual protocol is emotional and limbic, which we know that's what this whole class was about, but also the endocrine system, the cardiovascular system, the respiratory system, and the immune system can be helped by this protocol as well. And so it tells you that, and then it tells you some possible conditions that also can be addressed with this, because, you know, we still think of things in terms of symptoms and conditions and not in terms of body systems. And so it lists off, and I'll tell you a few that it mentions: anger, bipolar disorder, depression, emotional trauma, fear, OCD, which I have a touch of that, PMS, and panic and postpartum depression. So really cool book. I think if you need to add this to your list also of aids that help you with the oils. One more thing I want to point out, and I'll keep saying one more thing, but there's so much good stuff to go over. The Daily Drop app. And so the Daily Drop app is one that doTERRA provides. And what I love about it is that it's fun. So you can get to a specific oil recommendation using the Daily Drop app, and it's a free app. And so what I have pictured here is what you would see on your phone. So what you see is a listing of different emotions or feelings that you may be having. And what you're going to do is slide that little across a little slide rule part, and you'll show the intensity of how much you're feeling that emotions. And then once you go through it, and you may just be having, like, you're just mad that day. So you may put anger all the way across or tensed over, and some of the other ones may be lower. And so then what you see is just going to give you a recommendation on which of the emotional aromatherapy oils that we talked about earlier or that they recommend. And so it might tell you, well, you're going to need some balance, sister. You need to balance this out. Or it may tell you that you need some cheer. And so the other thing I like about this, I believe when you click on it, it gives you more information about the oil that it recommends as well. So this is pretty fun too. I like that. I've used that before. And lots of times I'm like surprised, like, how did it know? But it knows. Here's some more resources. Facebook, Plants for Medicine Facebook group is Stephanie's group. And I added my group. I didn't know people were like, we never see you, Joy. Well, that's because I manage a group with a team of leaders under me, and that's Oil Amazing Life. EOE Books is another app that's really good. And that one, I do think it has a cost associated with it. But what I like about that one is that it gives you a lot of testimonies from people that have used the different things. And so I like that a lot. Again, there's a Daily Drop app. And books, I added them here. The Emotions Essential Oils book, the Essential Life book, the Advanced Oil Magic I love as well. And I should have added Symphony of the Cells. That's another reference book for you. And so if you're on here, I'm sure by now you know how to order, ordering retail is one way you can order. We don't recommend that, but that's your option if you don't have a wholesale account. If you have a wholesale account, you can do one-time orders. You'll obviously get 25% off. But then there's also LRP, which is what's most recommended because you get points back. I love it. I think I placed an order for a customer today because I do her orders for her. And I was looking and I was thinking, how can I save her money? And I saw that she had 130 points. So I went ahead and tried to get her the most bang for her buck today. So anytime that you place an order, you're going to earn some points. It's going to differ depending on how much you order. And anytime you turn in your points, there is a $3 redemption fee, and you can always get out of the loyalty rewards program at any time. There's no cost to you. So I think you should look at it if you're not in it. I highly recommend it because there are a lot of things that you can get for free. Like I think I said in another class, I think I had almost 500 points that I turned in and got a whole bunch of cool stuff that I'd wanted to try but hadn't bought yet. So that's the end of the class part of this. This secret code for this week is going to be Monster Juice. I'm going to stop the recording for a second and stop sharing and see if there's any questions. Pause the recording. Okay, we are going to continue. Secret codes, Monster Juice. Next week is Women's Health and Hormones. So now we're going to talk a little bit more about using oils, sharing oils, and teaching others. And so obviously this is something that I'm passionate about because I teach the classes. I use the oil. I use a ton of oils and the products I share with other people, and I love to teach people about the oils. And so this week we're going to focus on the compensation plan. Excuse me. So there are 3 ways to share. You can be referral partners, and that's one way to get your oils free. I have several people on my team who do this. They share oils. They earn a little bit back from doTERRA, and that pays for their oils every month, so there's no out-of-pocket for them. You can enroll friends and get extra income, or you can build a team which can supplement or replace your income, and that's the track that I'm on, the build the team one. So what does that mean? So pay for your product. It typically could take 3 to 5 hours a week. You would personally enroll a few people a month. So they define that as being elite, premier, or silver, which I think that is probably extreme in terms of getting to pay for a month. I don't spend that much in oils every month. So I think this would be more than enough for oils every month. You can also do the supplement your income track. So that gives you about 10 to 15 hours a week that you would work. You'd enroll 4+ customers and a builder in a month. That's average. So that would achieve levels of gold, platinum, and diamond. And as you can see, gold average monthly income is about $4,700, whereas a diamond is about $16,000 a month. And then there are those who want to replace their income completely, and they work about 50 to 30 hours a week. They'd enroll about 8+ customers and 2 builders a month. And you notice at 15 to 30 hours a week, that comes with you build processes. Once you get to this level, you built in processes, you have this down. It's like second nature. It's your full-time job, but you're not working full-time hours. And that's the part that's kind of cool right there that I like. And so that goes from diamond to presidential diamond, and you can see what the income levels are. The cool thing is that doTERRA never caps you, even though this goes to presidential diamond. What happens when a lot of people achieve the presidential diamond, they can start over and build a whole new team, and they can have another leg. So I think the highest ranking advocate is Elise Chedevy, and she is a triple diamond leader right now. So there's no cap on what you can do in the company. So if you want to get your oils paid for, this is a simple system that we teach people, and you get help along the way, but you can give a friend a sample of something that's a big deal for them. Think of issues that they're going to see immediate response, so they're going to really understand and grow to love the oils. So we focus on things like sleep, headaches, digestion, pain, and stress. Tell them 3 cool things about essential oils. They're effective, they're safe, they're cost efficient. Tell them 3 ways to use them: topically, aromatically, and internally. And I always stress when I say internally, I'm only talking about doTERRA oils. I'm not telling you to go to Costco or Five Below, where I have seen oils, and take those internally. And then you can show them the different kits. I always try to show people the starter kits because it gives them the most bang for their buck. And so lots of times I'll explain, okay, there are 16 oils in this, and if you're paying $160, or $100, you're getting them $16 in oil. So when I break it down like that, they're like, oh, wow, because there's no way they're going to ever be able to buy an oil at those oils at those prices. And there's some of those kits, they have stuff like frankincense in them. So it's a big deal when I explain it that way. And then that's it. That's all you have to do. And then after that, depending on what level you want to do, you connect them into education like this so they can learn how to use their oils. The biggest thing that I try to promote when I'm teaching people, especially in our group, is that it would sadden me for them to just sit on their shelf and they never use the oils because they don't know how to use them and they're afraid to use them and they don't want to do it wrong. And so we always want to provide the education so that they understand. So if you just want to get your oils paid for, not necessarily be a builder, that's fine. There are educational options to help people learn. And so you just hook them into that. So one thing that helps too is to always carry samples with you. And I have a little pouch that I carry some of the Deep Blue rub in it and some of the drops in it. And I also have some pamphlets that I hand out with it. The other thing you can do is share online. The only caveat we have with sharing online is that we reference body systems because we don't want to we have to stay compliant, and that's mandated by the FDA. And so one way you do that is just direct them to doTERRA. doTERRA has a wealth of knowledge there. And you can find that on the website. What I typically do, because I can never remember where to find stuff, is that I just search. And when I search, it pulls up product options that you can look at. It pulls up blog options, which I love. They're different blogs. And then it pulls up other. And so you can click in there and see what you can share with someone that needs more information. There's also a Healthy Can Be Simple intro guide. Honestly, there are tons of guides. This is the one that doTERRA makes, but the different people that sell stuff for us, accessories, they have guides too. So you just kind of find what it is that speaks to you that works for you. I actually use a pamphlet because that's easy and it's less expensive and I can print them myself. So 4 ways to earn: fast start, power of 3 bonus, uni-level bonus, and leadership bonus. So all of these are different ways that we can be paid. When you're first starting out, the main thing that your pay will be based on will be fast start. So you can earn a bonus on people you enroll and the people they enroll for 3 levels. With fast start, you get paid weekly on your new enrollments volume for their first 60 days. For the first 2 months, whatever somebody new orders that's enrolled by you or someone that you enroll, you're going to get a percentage. And it's just going to depend what percent that you get depends on where you are in the enrollment process. So if you're the one who enrolled them, obviously you should get the biggest share of their what they buy. But if the person you enrolled someone, you'll get 10%. And if that person even enrolls someone, you still get 5%. So I think that's pretty cool. So in order to get your commissions, you do need to process 100 PV loyalty order to receive these bonuses. And so some people are like, oh my goodness, that's 100 PV each month. And I'm like, yeah. Number one, if you're using the products, which we do in my household, getting to 100 PV happens very quickly. I actually have to scale back my orders usually to make sure that I'm not spending so much that my husband's like, well, what are you doing? But I also get, an income from doTERRA, so it comes right out of that. So that's not that big a deal, but that's what is going to trigger the computer system to say, oh yeah, we need to pay Joyce commissions this month because she did her 100 PV loyalty order. And that's the only requirement to get commissions. So fast start bonus, this kind of breaks it down a little more. I just kind of did for you. So let's say someone says Lisa enrolled Megan. And when Megan orders, to say these are 3 orders that she placed the first 2 months, first 60 days, first 2 months of having her wholesale account. Off of all of this, that means the first 2 months that Lisa would have earned $90 because of the orders that Megan did. And so that's pretty cool. So think about this. If you were in, and we are, you're in sales with a traditional brick and mortar company, you're going to get a percentage of, you're going to get commissions off of what people purchase anyways. I just like this because it extends the amount of time that you're going to get commissions from what people order. And it really helps new builders or people that are new to, as they're building, their base of people that they service. And so that's why I really appreciate how doTERRA has this set up. So Power 3 bonus is another thing, and this is based on structure of your team. My structure is a hot mess, but I do try to achieve these different levels of Power 3 bonus. And what that basically means is that you plus 3 people under you, when y'all order 100 PV, what? And then everybody
ice cream bar? I didn't see an ice cream bar.
PV, then you're going to get a bonus, and it's different. And as that duplicates down, the bonuses.
I don't think I saw one. I saw yogurt.
Is that AJ?
Sorry, I'm sorry, honey. I didn't know I was still. I'm gonna mute myself. Sorry.
That's okay. I was like, is that AJ? And so once you do that, then you'll get to different bonuses. Let's see. There we go. So I've already mentioned this. This is Elise Chedevy. And so what's really cool is that she offers some training, and it's free training. And you can see it at dailymentorcalls.com. So you think, if you're thinking, I could do this, but I'm not sure, or if you just want a little bit of support, she lays out a whole process. And so there are proven steps that she's done, and you just go step by step. I'm personally going through it with my team right now. I started on call 1, and we're going to go all the way to call 50. And it's just so I don't like to ask people to do things that I haven't personally done myself. And so what we're going through them, and you're getting tips no matter what level you are. Like I'm silver now, and so I'm getting tips of things that are going to help me to continue to move forward. And so this is our training basically. And so it's pretty good. I am enjoying it actually right now. And so we always close with this quote: when you share doTERRA products, you bring hope and wellness to the people you love, your community, and ultimately the world. Selling the doTERRA way is about service. one drop at a time and one person at a time, we're serving the world with wellness solutions. And so that was said by Greg Cook, one of our executive founders. And to me, this really is about service. And so anytime I offer something to someone, I look at it as, how can I help you? And so when you have that kind of heart, you have a company that has that kind of heart, that's really the reason why I stick with not just using the products, but also, offering and trying to help others with it as well. So if you want to be in the drawing for the Monster Juice Roller, you would text the secret code I Share Hope to this number. I think that's Stephanie's number because it's not mine. But the Monster Juice Roller is going to include 5 to 10 drops of Citrus Bliss and Balance, and then you would fill the rest with the fractionated coconut oil. I do want to mention that a good substitute for the Citrus Bliss is wild orange, because I don't ever have Citrus Bliss on hand, so I substitute wild orange. And in the back of that Symphony of the Cells book I mentioned to you, it has a lot of oil substitutions in there for you as well. I think that's it, guys. It is. So let me see. I appreciate you joining me today.